So over the last few years, I've been trying to find my ideal perfect bomb-proof tent, but not for the reasons why you might think. So stick around this video and I'll tell you the rationale behind it, and it's not all about storm chasing and clickbait titles. So from a strength perspective, I've narrowed it down to 3 tents. However, the issue that I have, anyone who doesn't know me, is I'm 6'4", and fitting in tents isn't always that easy. So the first on the list was the Hilleberg Sulu. Now, historically, I've taken a mickey a bit out of Hilleberg owners, tongue in cheek, only in jest. I know they make great tents. It's just those people who take them out in the middle of summer on a calm day with no breeze, and they're in their black label, buttoned down to the ground with 20-metre long guy lines. It's a bit OTT. Now, my concern with the Sulu was the internal dimensions, and it's hard to gauge on paper, but I believe it's 220 centimetres. I'm 192, so in theory I should fit in there, but you've got to take into consideration the rake of the ends of the tent and how much that's going to affect and reduce the actual size you've got inside for length. Now, Hilleberg actually do a YouTube video on tents for tall people. They've got a guy called John who's 6'6", I believe, and he states that the Hillebergs make a tent so that, I think it's Ralph Hilleberg, the son, who's 6'3", can fit in all of them. And he goes on to show all the tents that he can fit in at 6'6". He doesn't show the Sulu, for obvious reasons. So the difficulty is, and when you look at tent sizes and lengths, it's not just about how tall you are. There's several other factors that you've got to take into consideration. One, how big are your feet? The larger your feet, the more it encompasses on the end corners where the tent angles in at the top, and therefore reduces your bed length. So you could be 5'8" with a size 26 feet, and you've got no length to actually lay down without your feet touching the end of a 2.2 metre tent. So there's lots of little factors to take into consideration on size, but trying it out is the main thing. Now, you could lay inside one of these tents and think, actually, this is fine, I fit in it. But then you've also got to take into consideration, how thick is your sleep mat? How thick is your pillow? How thick is your quilt? And anything that adds height to your sleep system and your body is going to reduce the length available within that tent if it's got sloping ends. As you can see on this diagram above, the higher you are, the shorter the available length that's left for you to fit. Now, I was lucky enough to find a Hilleberg Sulu in a shop that was set up, and I got in it, laying on the floor, no mat, no nothing. My head was touching one end, my feet were touching the other, and that was without a mat, pillow, sleeping bag or anything. So it pretty much ruled it out for me. This is not a cost issue, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm looking at these tents in a minute, after I told you about tents 2 and 3. And it's not about searching out named storms and having a bomb-proof tent. So tent number 2, when it first came out, I was very interested in. It looked really, really good. And I actually contacted the company, but they said they'd already set up agreements with other YouTubers who've now all had 25 tents each, and sleep systems and everything else as well. So I missed out on that one, but fair enough, can't win them all. And that is the Vone 1. Now, on paper again, the Vone 1 looked very, very good. And after the initial problems with the first tents, where they thought it was going to be a Sulu killer, you know, they've revamped it, they've changed it, they've upgraded it, bigger poles, the setup is different on the tent as well. So to me, it's a contender. It looks sturdy enough, but I don't know if it's big enough. And that's where my issue is. On the website, there is no internal dimensions on the Vone 110. All it shows is a diagram, like a computer-generated diagram, with a note that says model in the mattress is 180 centimetres, so you can see it fits in there at 180, but it doesn't tell you what the internal length and dimensions are. I've done a couple of checks on YouTube. I couldn't find anything that was really accurate. It was anything from between 260 to 230, so I don't really know. And it's one of those things, a bit like the Hilleberg Sulu, that until you actually get inside it and test it, you can't really tell whether or not it's going to be suitable for you. So it's a lot of money to spend on a tent that I might not fit in. So if anyone out there has got a Vone 1 new version, ideally, whether they are local, Dartmoor, happy to let me try it, sit in it, lay in it, meet up for a camp, that'd be great. Or if you trust me enough, post it to me, I'll do a camp in it and I'll post it back to you. And I'll pay for postage both ways, of course. But it would be good to just try it out before I actually, look at purchasing something as expensive as that may or may not work. And that brings me on to tent number 3, which is what I'm going to go and look at now. So a few years ago I saw a few people who had the Kuiu Stormstar tent, and I was sort of put off immediately because they always seem to be red. Not a fan of red tents. So I then saw the sort of chocolate brown version they do. I thought, that doesn't look too bad. And from all reviews and everything that I see, it seems to be incredibly storm-worthy, very, very strong. And then I saw Andrew Park did a review on his one, and I mentioned to him and said, do you think I'll fit in it? And he went, it's a bit tight, maybe at an angle. From that, someone contacted me on YouTube, said, look, I'm on Dartmoor today, do you want to come up and have a look, test the tent out, lay in it, put your mat in it, see what you think. Now oddly, Kuiu are a company that primarily deal with hunting gear, outdoor hunting equipment, and I would guess, looking at their website, which is massive, they have got thousands of items for sale on their website, probably 95% of it is camouflage. And they actually even specialise in their own type of camo that they've designed. And I talk about how good it is. But they bring out a tent that's bright red or chocolate brown with white stripes on it. Can I do a camo version or something at least a little bit more stealthy? But I'm not put off completely by the chocolate brown, which is what I'm going to go and look at now. So the test is going to be whether or not I fit in it. And I'll tell you now why I'm looking at one of these tents. Now the reason behind this search for a bomb-proof tent is nothing to do with climbing up on Ben Nevis and doing a camp in Storm Brian or whatever the next name Storm is and getting some kind of clickbait thumbnail. And don't get me wrong, we've all done it in the past, but I don't do it actively. And the reason behind this is because the amount of times that I've been out on a camp in an average, run-of-the-mill tent, no bad weather expected, and I've been out camping and a storm's kicked in out of nowhere, not been forecast. So I've been in these run-of-the-mill tents and they've never collapsed, but they're taking such a battering that they have survived the night, but I haven't. So I've ended up awake all night long because I haven't got the confidence in that tent that it isn't going to collapse on me. And that's where the issue is. This is not about storm chasing, it's not about clickbait thumbnails, it's about me going out and actually getting a decent night's sleep because I'm not worried that the tent is going to collapse on me. And that has happened on many, many occasions. And 99% of the time, the tent's been fine, but I wake up a complete shattered mess. So I wanted something that's going to give me the confidence to know that I can actually go to sleep, it's getting a huge battering, and I'm not going to be worried about it. Now, any of you who watch my channel know that I've got a Fjallraven Abisko Shape 2, and that can take a good hammering. That's a tunnel tent, it's a Fjallraven, it's a proper four-season tent. The problem with it is it's 4 meters long. So to find a spot, it's very difficult. Most of the sort of octagon type shapes tents are wider, but they're not longer, and it's easier to find a circular spot than it is a 4 meter long spot. And the issue then is as well, when you pitch one of these tunnel tents, they are very, very good in the wind if they're pitched correctly in the wind. So ideally they need to be heading towards the wind with the vestibule end facing the wind, so that's taking the hammer in, and your sleeping compartment is at the back. That is where they're at their strongest. So not only have you got to find somewhere that is 4 meters long and flat and level to pitch a tent on, but then it's got to be in the right position for the wind. If you're on the top of a huge plateau that's completely circular where you can do a 360 with your tent, not a problem at all. That's never happened to me. but it does mean that you are limited to where you can go. And even with my Durston X-Dome on the last camp that I was on, Dartmoor Great Mist Tor is massive. Great Mist Tor's got so many places to camp on. It's unbelievable the amount of space. However, I wasn't going out trying to seek out any high wind camps. I wasn't trying to push the tent or test it. It was simply a review and to tell you about the new solid inner. And I couldn't find anywhere that was out of the wind. And I mean high winds as well. And that's not what I was trying to do on that video. The Tor, the rocks seem to be sort of north to south, and the wind is generally east to west, so you can pitch on either side of the Tors and keep out of the way. The wind was coming straight from the north. It was howling through everywhere. So I struggled to even find a tiny little spot for the X-Dome. So when you've got a 4 metre tent, it's a pain in the arse. So the rationale behind me getting something that is smaller, very, very strong and very storm worthy is not to take it out in massive storms. It is simply to give me the confidence to be able to actually put my head down and go to sleep. But the other criteria is I've got to fit in the bloody thing. So I'm going to head up over the Tor now and hopefully catch up with Bob and his friend Bob and have a look at this Kuiu Stormstar. Right, so I've got to Shellstone Tor. Bob and his mate are not here. The tents are there. There's a fair breeze here, but I'll show you when it picks up the difference between that Fjordhaven and the Kuiu when the wind's blowing. Weirdly though, they've brought their own toilet facilities. I've never seen a shower stroke toilet on Dartmoor before. Who says you got to slum it? Alright, I'll just walk you around the Kuiu while I'm waiting for them to come here. Obviously I'm not going to start getting inside their tent when they're not here yet. So there's a bit of wind. I'll show you the Fjordhaven. It's moving. This is just a very gentle breeze at the moment. There was a fair old wind kicking up when I got down here, and that was flapping around quite a bit. Yeah, you can see it moving. It's not a problem for it. But compare that to the Kuiu. Not a tiny bit of movement at all. Right, so I'm all pitched up in my X-Dome. Usual suspects, Flextail R09 mat, Flextail pillow, inflated with my down jacket inside it, making it really fat and puffy, and my Flames Creed quilt. So the guys said they were going for a hike and we'll probably be back about 4 o'clock. I've been here about half an hour or so, 40 minutes, obviously set up, just bumbling about, and it's 10 to 5. You're not here yet. I'm hoping they'll be here soon, because otherwise we'll run out of daylight to do any filming in the tent. Anyway, I'll bring you back when they turn up. Right, so it's 5:15. They still haven't turned up yet. I was just trying to take some pictures of me laying down across the front of the tent using it as a thumbnail. And the tripod I've got is not the best in the wind, so I put it up, got my phone on it. I got my backpack, leant it against the bottom of the tripod on the legs to hold it, and the wind blew it, it went over, and my phone landed and bounced straight onto a rock and is now completely dead. So I'm in the middle of Dartmoor with absolutely no contact with anybody whatsoever. Amazing. Right, so it is, I don't know what time it is now, 5:30? Something like that. Bob and Darren have turned up. So this is Bob, the man with the Kuiu, and Darren. What is yours? Fjordhaven, is it a Biscoche Light? Yeah, I was right. So yeah, thanks to Bob for letting me have a look around his tent. So I'm going to have a nose around that now, and I'll show you what it's like inside and see whether or not I can fit in the damn thing. Right, so you've probably seen a million videos on this, so I'm not going to go over the build quality and how it is set up, but obviously it's incredibly strong. These crossover poles with the hooks on the side here, it is a real solid beast, but it's the inside that we want to look at and see whether or not I can fit in here. Right, so here's the test. I'm going to jump on top of all of his gear. He's got a large mat in here, it sort of just fits end to end. Now Bob is 6'1". Oh, Now at least I'm on a mat. My head is just touching, my feet are just touching. So my feet are pressing pretty firmly against there. Without my hat on, it's close. I think if I was in the centre, it might be a bit better. Hang on. Feels weird laying in someone else's mat. Actually, no, that's worse. I don't fit. Let's shuffle down a bit. I'm trying to make myself fit in this tent. So that's literally half an inch. And I haven't got a big pillow on here. I've got a big pillow. But my feet are firmly pressed against the bottom. Right, so it looks like it might be back to the drawing board. Anyone got a Verne 1 tent I can test out? I do like this, it's a really nice tent. Setting up the headroom's okay. There's a gear loft here, but yeah, the headroom's fine. It's got a nice space inside the tent. I do like it. I really like it. I just think it's too small. I've been standing outside chatting for ages, chewing the cud with Bob and Darren. So thanks guys for coming out and letting me test your Kuiu Storm Star. I think it's going to be back to the drawing board. It's, as much as I like it, it's going to bug me. My head and my feet on both ends. Excuse the hat. It is very cold. This is very warm. So yeah, if anyone's got a Verne 1, either leave a comment in the comment section if you can help me out, or my email is also in my channel description. So yeah, give us a shout, and if I can come and test it out and see what I think, much appreciated. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, as always, hit the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.